welcome to this short recording exploring the experiences of occupational therapy practice educators who took part in a recent pilot project. The practice educators joining us today recently trialled a 2-to-1 peer-assisted learning model of supervision, supervising a first and second year MSc occupational therapy student who engaged in a peer-assisted learning approach to mentoring.
What we did, because we had several students together in one base, we had a joint induction. So it allowed, it freed up time as educators, but also we allowed a consistent message, particularly things around the health and safety aspect of the induction and then some of the expectations. Because of the recent project, we had the second year start the week before, and so they were able to help out with the induction, same again, releasing time for us as educators, but it allowed us to explore their expectations of the peer and the mentor kind of support, and allowed us to try and establish sort of like some ground rules perhaps, and how ways of working, and probably almost like permission for us to be flexible with that and just see how things go. So that probably helped manage some of the anxieties around that. Certainly having two students together allows them to role play particular aspects. So things around doing some of the initial interview type assessments, cognitive assessments, and even like problem solving, some treatment approaches and activities, some rehabilitation type activities, and how could they deliver some of those aspects was really useful for them to prepare in advance of service user contact. As an organisation, being able to offer lots of in-service training sessions by different educators, particularly those who didn't have a student, or as I found it very hard to have students, but they still had a lot to offer. And because of COVID, everything moved virtually. So just having that shift that we can deliver effective in-service training for these students virtually and across sites, and again frees up educator time. What was really useful was students having some private space, some safe space away from the educators, so that they can really explore some of the learning, the kind of they could ask each other questions and support each other, and we can plan that from the formal mentor kind of sessions, but actually having that time and space informally was very useful, particularly where they had questions which they didn't want to bother us as educators, or maybe felt uncomfortable or uncertain about asking. But because they had different experiences, for example, we use System 1 in terms of recording our electronic records. They different students had different experiences, so actually the students could approach other students to learn how to use different aspects without having to ask us as educators, how do I do this, where do I find this bit. So actually that was just something that just we didn't even expect to happen, but was very useful. I think I had some anxieties about how do I support two students, and in terms of delivering some of the kind of development opportunities, but actually it can work well that you can support them in their own interests and skills. You do have time for that, because I think time is freed up through the support that they give each other. And that allows you really to also notice some of their abilities to support each other and help develop that kind of skill. It's been very useful for them to work together on projects. It's allowed things that we've been thinking about for a long time to actually progress quite nicely. And some of the outputs that they produced has been such high quality in terms of looking at the evidence base, and I think it is because they are working together, they support each other, and actually develop the best from each other. So that's been same again. Very impressed with the quality of the projects that have been produced. And I think also it's important that working in a service, you might feel that you have a finite number of service users that you can have during your day or in your week. But I think if you can emphasize the quality and quantity of time that students can spend with service users to really help them to explore occupation and actually do good occupational therapy, that's been very helpful for everybody, really. It's not just about the numbers game of seeing so many service users in a day or in a week. So I think that's, and I think the students have really valued that quality time that they get with service users and the preparation time for service users.
Okay, so hello, I'm Emma, and I'm from social services. Across social services, we had 4 students with 3 practice educators. Our top tips for the peer-assisted model was mostly in relation to this placement being quite unique in that it was a virtual placement. So the majority of us are now working from home, so a lot of supervisions were done over Teams and virtually, as well as assessments. So the peer-assisted model gave the students a extra channel to do their reflection, to support each other and to learn from. So I think that the feedback that we got from both of them was that they really benefited from that. Also, it was beneficial to do group supervision so that they could bounce ideas off each other whilst learning in this virtual way. Another top tip, thinking about working in social services and in the community, was to, if possible, depending on guidance in relation to COVID, is to create bubbles so that the students could still meet face to face and gain some of that, learning experience from each other in that way. So yes, we also talked about and did daily catch-ups in the diary. So it was important to keep communication channels open when working virtually.
I actually think it was quite useful having lots of students around on a base. So we are a community service provider, so I think those organisations that do have community services actually is there a way of working where you can have 4 or many pairs of students together, because it does allow for this peer support that goes across pairs in a way, and that worked extremely well. So again, you could see different aspects and different talents coming through, and then the support, and I can't put into words how amazing that was to walk in and pick up on that atmosphere and the vibes you're getting from all the students supporting each other.
At social services, I don't necessarily think we would change anything that in the way that we set things up, but I would probably just stress the importance of those kind of daily catch-ups in the practice educators' calendars as well as the students' calendars, so that they have that regular contact with each other. When you're thinking about working virtually, it can be quite lonely, so it's just about making sure that those communication channels are set up right from the start. Also just thinking about perhaps the second year student coming with some case studies that they can discuss in their own time when they do have more of that freer time when they're in the initial stages of induction.
Definitely. I was somebody who's skeptical of these taking more than one student at a time. I think as an educator, I want to give quite a lot of myself to the students, but actually this has worked extremely well, and actually feels that it does kind of in some way kind of release some of that time in the working day. Yes, I have to do an extra supervision session perhaps per week, or doing more of the halfway report final, but actually in terms of the time demands was not that much. In fact, it felt a little bit less than what I would normally offer. And I think then it allows the students opportunities to either manage a project, work through something like develop their project management skills, certainly developing their leadership aspects, supervisory, coaching, mentoring skills, and also their resilience of how to tackle this kind of a different aspect of placement, really, which really helps their employability, and being able to pull that out and kind of have this, I suppose, a professional pride in how they grow and develop, and actually you're offering more than what you typically get on a placement, and that's it's just another aspect to being an educator that just makes me think, this is what I need to do. I think to offer just one student a placement is actually really shortchanging them. I really do believe that now. So yeah, I mean, thank you. It's just made me really change how I, as an educator going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. And Emma.
So I agree with Ed. It's been quite invaluable having the two students together in a team so that they can support each other. And I would definitely recommend it going forward, especially, I know I keep talking about the virtual placement, but especially in the new way of working in social care, where we are a lot more home-based and doing a lot more things over Teams. It really helped the students to develop their learning and understanding, as well as leadership skills, as Ed said. I mean, we were lucky enough in social services to recruit one of our students. So that was, really, really well done on her part, and a really, really nice outcome of a different way of doing a placement. Also, I think it's important just to say about the resilience skills that the students have developed, skills that us as practice educators have had to probably develop as we've gone along, already qualified, whereas they'll be going out into the qualified world with that level of resilience and adaptability skills. So that's all from me.
Thank you, Emma. And anything from your point of view, Wayne?
Yes, it's something that I think has proved very, very successful, and to hear the testimonies of the other people is really encouraging. I think one of the things that I've learned along the way is that by adopting the peer-assisted learning coaching style model, it really enables and empowers the students to develop their own practice, their own autonomy, leadership styles, supervisory skills. So there's a real positive.
I would definitely recommend it. Given that this was the first time I'd been an educator, as it were, and having my own students, I'd only experienced it from the other side, from the student's point of view when I was one. And I know when you're going out to places, you often get the feelings of sort of being a burden to your educator. You're coming to them with questions and bits and pieces while they're trying to do their job. I think by having that 2-to-1 model, students will kind of ask each other the stupid questions, as it were, even though there are no stupid questions. So your first year will go to your second year and go, I don't quite understand what's going on here. Any chance you do? And I think for them, it's much nicer than constantly feeling like they have to come to your educator to kind of get something from them. I definitely recommend it. It was a really, really successful project.